Todd May, the 12th of June 2018, you're going to give a workshop here on Michel Foucault and the care of the self. Could you say a bit about the relevance of Foucault in relation to a person's care of him or herself?
Sure. And people often understand Foucault's work to be about how power forms us. But near the end of his life, he was asking himself, what other ways to live can there be, aside from the ones, right, that we've been taught to live? And so he went to the ancients and talked about the way the ancients understood caring for oneself.
The ancients, the Greeks, the Romans, and so forth.
Particularly the Greeks and early Romans. Focus most on the ancient Greeks.
Yeah.
And what he wanted to do was not to say, here's a formula for how we should live now, that we should go back to the ancient Greeks. What he wanted to do, I think, instead, was to let us understand that there can be very different ways of living from the ways that we live now, so that the way in which we live now loses its grip of necessity on us.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you see that Foucault's thoughts are relevant in this neoliberal world with a lot of pollution, a lot of CO2 in the air, in the environment? In which way could Foucault be relevant?
I think there are at least two ways. One way is that we think of ourselves, or we think of the ways in which we live as natural and inescapable. And if we think of it that way, then we're going to continue to contribute to environmental degradation and to all kinds of neoliberal practices. So by loosening the grip of that naturalness on us, he allows us to think in other ways. But another thing, more specifically, is that there were concepts of friendship that we can see back in the ancients. And when we see those concepts of friendship, that can allow us to form bonds with one another that are different from the bonds of networking and feelings that the other is simply there for me to invest in order to gain things. So we can look specifically at some of the practices of the ancients, not all of them, and see possibilities for how we might begin to relate to each other in non-neoliberal ways.
Has Foucault's thoughts and ideas also have had some relevance for you as a person?
I think so. I think so. I'll give you an example. He spent a lot of time studying the ancient spiritual exercises, ways in which we try to habituate ourselves, to form ourselves to be the kinds of beings we want to be through practice. Right? And this is something that I have tried to take up in my own life, and I think other people can take the notion of spiritual exercises up in their lives as well.
What do you mean with spiritual exercises?
Ways of forming oneself in ways that feel empowering. So, for instance, right, the ancient Roman philosopher Seneca said what you have to do is get up every day and ask yourself, how is it that I would like to live today? And think about that and carry that through your day. And then at the end of the day, ask yourself where you succeeded and where you failed. Right? And you do this every day, and you begin to form yourself into the person you want to be. That's an everyday type of spiritual exercise.
Thank you so much, Todd May. We're looking so much forward to hear you in this workshop, the 12th of June.
I'm excited for it. Thank you, Alan.